So I've been away for a few weeks, and anyone familiar with me will realise that that's often the case. I come and go. I'll be here one day, gone the next. But I do come back. I always come back. And the thing is, I have a busy life. I have a job that demands quite a bit of my time. They do pay me well, don't get me wrong, but it's just a lot of my time. And, I'm finally back in the saddle romantically. Just before Christmas, I broke up with a girl I was seeing for a long time. And, I've been dragging my feet since then, but I've met someone. And we've made things serious. She's supportive of these shenanigans that I embroil myself into. And she actually wants to do a stream at some point, so we shall see. Anyway, I think at this point I've had about 14 YouTube channels, some of which haven't been taken down. They're still up. And I'm always pleased when I see the videos that I've made be re-uploaded. It gives me a confidence that what I've been doing was worthy enough, right? But I've been doing this since about 2012, 2013, and bar the odd few channels, they all bubble under at about 1,000 subs, and the videos I managed to make, to put out, they garner a good little community of people who get my humour, who get what I'm trying to say, and it's all good. So why do I shut it all down? Well, there is a reason why I go, and look, for me, this reason is very simple, but for the majority, it baffles and perplexes them. I have never wanted to be a leader or the figurehead of anything. Frankly, I don't really care about the numbers. The views, the subs, the likes, I don't really care. Financially, I'm fine either way. I don't care if I've got a quote-unquote e-celeb success story on my hands, because for me, it's never been about that. When I spoke to Jim, Mr. Metica, right, he relayed the story to me of how when he made his video on Terry Davis, and how he was, well, how now he's got such a large following that he has to pick and choose his targets because he doesn't want to intervene in the natural flow of their autism, right? And this was something that really struck a chord with me when he told me, because, it struck a chord because I've had a similar experience with some of my targets, some of the subjects that I've covered, to the point where you feel as though the work you put in is compromised when you are gaining a sizable following. So for me, I'd much rather study someone with about 60 subs and focus my videos on their hedonism, on their behaviour, than I would hopping onto a bigger, more visible target, say Chris Chan. Problem with that is that when you do that, you then become part of the narrative in a way that you didn't intend to when you were just trying to gather and document. And when Jim was doing the SPAC stuff, or the commentaries with Big Al, there were only a few hundred people watching him, so it was easier for him to move and operate. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that it's easier to cover the subjects that I want to cover when I'm just on the periphery than it is when I gather a large following who will naturally be curious and want to get involved in the banter. Then I become a figurehead for that specific lolcow's ire, angst, anxieties. And that's fair enough, right? That's fair enough. But then you also get accused, as Jim said to me, of ruining the small community that was already there having fun in the first place. So it's a sticky situation, but the reason that I enjoy covering these subjects who aren't well known is because, for want of a better phrase, one feels like a pioneer. You're the first one to craft the narrative of them, and the gratification comes from knowing that no matter how visible, right, that subject becomes and irrelevant you become as time goes on, the work that you put in will outlive you. So, for example, when the bigger fish finally pick up on the Jahan stuff, I will rightfully be forgotten. But what will outlast me is the narrative, all of the little sagas that I pieced together watching, all of those videos that he made. That's what keeps me going, right? Like the fellow who first got a hold of Chris Chan and weaved that yarn together. Who cares about him, right? Who knows his name? No one cares. But his work, the things that he documented, they live on. It's what every single one of these Chris Chan documentaries refer back to when they make their own little works. Anyway, the point I want to make is this. Every time that I do this now, I defoo, as it were, it gets much harder. It was a lot easier to run away from things when I was like 17 and making this stuff than it is now. Partly because the Overton window has shifted, partly because Western civilization is in such degeneracy that I'm often feeling shocked into action, and partly because with every new channel that I create, I gain a bigger and bigger following. So, I just want to tell you about what happened this time, the 13th time that I shut everything down, and the bizarre experiences that have happened to me between then and now. So within about an hour of me deleting the last channel, I had a relatively minor e-celeb email me. I don't know how he got a hold of my... Well, I actually do know how he got a hold of my email, and it's been passed around, but, fair enough, don't care. It is what it is. They emailed me. They've got about 10,000 subs, so they're not massive, but they emailed me, right? And they invited me into a super secret internet group. I won't say the platform or name names, but I was invited into this group, and it's about 25 other e-celebs in there. Big names, some of them very big. And the person in charge of this group is very well known. And it quickly became apparent to me that they wanted an audience with myself. They wanted to summon Godwinson and really understand who I was. And quickly it transpired that I hopped onto a voice chat, and for about half an hour I'm talking to a few of these e-celebs, and they're all saying how they enjoyed my content, how they found my videos funny, how it's a shame that everything's gone. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, let's get to the point of why we're here, And then the big man jumped on, the head honcho, and everyone went quiet, very hushed tones, and it was like a little interrogation, basically along the lines of this big name e-celeb asking me, who the hell are you? Where have you come from? How have you managed to gain such a following in such a small space of time? Very suspicious questions. And you have to realise that these people in this group owe their e-celeb livelihoods to this bigger head honcho e-celeb, because he promoted them when they were like 100 view nobodies. So they were very perplexed by me gaining like 1,000 subs in a month, and they were convinced that I was working for or with someone higher up who was enabling this, right? And I just thought this was bizarre. Trying to explain to these people that I'm just a person without affiliation. I don't owe my quote-unquote success to any individual person. I'm literally just making videos that I find amusing, and I'm putting them out there, and people are liking them. And I've not just come out of a vacuum. I've been doing this for years, and it's only now that these weird e-celebs are trying to co-opt me and trying to diagnose me. I've not come out of the blue. They can't comprehend it, basically. And the big man, the head e-celeb honcho, right? He reasoned that I was actually on their side, on the side of them, and how it would be, quote-unquote, funny if I came back as Godwinson and declared that I'd converted to something, so that they could present themselves as being in on the joke the whole time. I'm trying to keep it vague, but just craziness. And they actually wanted me to attend an in real life event that's actually happened now. It's been and gone. They were going to parade me as a new convert to their cause. Oh, just even saying it just baffles me. They were going to parade me as a new convert to their cause, and I was going to be on a panel with a few of them. And every time I would say in this group chat, in this voice chat, look, I'm more than serious about despising all of you and all of that which you stand for. They just laugh and say, "Oh, good one, mate. We're also in on the joke too." And this is basically how these people operate, right? Someone like me, like Godwinson, will come out of the blue, make a video criticising them, showing them to be figures of ridicule and not adulation, telling you not to fucking give them money. And they can't comprehend how that can happen, because on YouTube you must show deference to those with a higher sub count, or else you're going to fall to the wayside. Well, no. I say fuck that, and fuck you. I'm going to have my opinion, I'm going to voice it, and I'm certainly not going to pretend to be friendly with these e-celebs in order to climb the greasy pole of Patreon shekels. No, it's just not going to happen. Anyway, before I move on to what happened next, this group of well-known e-celebs, they're constantly deciding on the next topic for the videos that they're going to make as a group. And what they do is they say, "Oh, this is what we'll cover. Someone being arrested, feminists, Antifa, any topic, etc. I'll keep it vague." But they decide on the news topic, and then they systematically work out how they're going to cross-post, interpromote, shill each other's videos on the same topic. And what this does is create this sense of relevance, of breaking news, when in fact it's all manufactured. They're literally setting an agenda for the purpose of maximum pennies. They even... right, so the big guy, the head honcho, the big name e-celeb who runs this group, he even plans and declares that he will like a video, and he sets his like to public, and the idea behind that is, people will see that, and look, it's all very calculated, and it's all a manufactured sense of happenings just for maximum shekels. And when I left this group, I left this internet group. Again, I'm not going to name the platform, because I wanted no part of it. I'm not becoming a member of their money-grubbing community. But before I left, I was handed a personal invite to I will name this platform, to a super secret Discord where another big name e-celeb had requested an audience with myself, with Godwinson. I mean, they're not really a big name at the moment. Their star is definitely fading. I'm not going to say anymore. I won't say anymore. But I was handed this person invite, and this fellow wanted me to. He wanted me to go into minute detail of the liberalist event that I attended. Specifically, were there any academics? Were there any scientists? Just how serious are these liberalists? Very, very bizarre conversation. And this person, he actually wanted to employ me. He actually wanted to employ Godwinson to infiltrate further liberalist meetings and report back to him and this Discord as a spy. Oh, gosh. Let's just clarify the whole liberalist thing. I know I'm seen by them as some sort of one-man liberalist gas chamber. There's little Godwinson witch hunts that they do in their groups. I am the one who can't be named. They do their best to organise and redraft their letters, their anti-Godwinson comments and letters that they put everywhere. Look, fair enough. I hurt their feelings, I made fun of them, but I also had a good time doing it. You fight fire with fire. That's absolutely fine. And all of their little... I want to clarify that I'm not going to be gate crashing everything they do. It's not something I'm interested in doing. All of their little birthday parties for Sargon, all of their little gatherings, it's not a serious political movement, not even slightly. It's not even slightly the case. There was a time, I will admit this, there was a time when I thought that maybe, just maybe, Sargon was gatekeeping these people, and that these liberalists would be on our side if only they saw the light. I thought that was the case. But upon meeting them, interacting with them, it's very apparent that these people are like the last passengers on the Titanic. These are die-hard Sargonites, Reddit to their very core. and any members of Sargon's audience that would have come to our side have probably already done so. And so, as it stands, I have very little interest in ruining their small entertainments, or even being involved in them, okay? Internet blood sports is pretty much dead in the water at this point. These past few days have been awful. You know, they've wrecked whatever community was there, and I have personally zero interest in being the British Andy Warski. That's just not something that interests me. Anyway, so I've been away, but in the interim, I've been allowed very close access to these e-celebs, and I've seen them in their natural habitat, and I've seen how cynical, how paranoid, how egotistical they all are. And okay, I will say this, and this is going to cause a stir. But I've kept principles. I've not named people, but they very specifically they organise. How to phrase this? These people, these e-celebs, are very active in the chans. They're active in 8chan. They're active in 4chan. They are reading the threads. They're reading the threads about them. Of course they are. And the way when they're in these groups, the two groups that I was in, both of them do this. But they're all talking about the posts that they're going to post into these groups, of how they're going to change the narrative. And if you can often see this, you've got people who will derail the conversation, who are very obviously these e-celebs, and they do not know how to fully integrate and fully blend in. And I personally think it's very obvious now in hindsight, knowing what I know now, knowing how I know that they plan how they're going to try and change the narrative. It doesn't work, but it will work eventually. I think certainly a lot of the activity, right, that's been happening on these chans very recently, on these boards very recently, has been trafficked from their e-celeb things, and they are instrumental in subverting the discourse that's going on. And I think it's detrimental to the communities that have been there, the communities that I've been a part of, since about 2012, 2013. Right, so I've seen how cynical, how paranoid, how egotistical they all are. I've seen the power structures present. I've seen how they all show deference to their main head honcho e-celeb, and they have a great debt of gratitude and all of this stuff. And I've seen how they try to embrace their enemies, like myself, like Godwinson, by saying, oh, we're also in on the joke as well. But it doesn't wash. It doesn't wash with me. And look, I've done my best to hide the identities of these people that I've been speaking about, but I guarantee you, I can almost, I put my mortgage on it. They're watching this now, and their little super secret discords, their super secret groups will be blowing up, and they'll be setting the Kill Godwinson agenda, and there will be people on the chat. I'm certain, and I'm just calling it out now so people can identify it. You know what? Good. Fine. That's fantastic, because I'm not one of you. I am not here to try and advance some e-celeb fame. I'm not here in the interests of a Patreon account. That's not what I'm about. I do not give a fuck about that. I'm fine anyway. I'm independently financially independent, right? I don't care. I'm not about this. And personally, I would rather die. I would literally rather die than be friendly to you for the views. Okay? Well, that's all I've got to say, and thank you very much.